Ted Cruz and JohnCornyn, U.S. senators, U.S. representatives, Congress as a whole. We have a crisis at the border. That much is true. This is something that has been ongoing and has been allowed to progress to a point it should not have been. I'm calling out my senators, my U.S. representatives. The fact of the matter is, the issues at the border and with our immigration system, it's a three-pronged situation, and it requires a three-pronged solution. Congress has been stuck in a tunnel vision. They've been hell-bent on closing the border. Closing the border, as they say, is the solution. But Congress has neglected to deal with the other two of the three prongs of this problem that we've been having here in our country. They have neglected to deal with those that are stuck in a backlog system, waiting on a decision, on an application that some have filed probably more than 10, 15, even 20 years ago. They don't want to modernize. They don't want to pass legislation to provide the resources necessary to enforce our immigration laws. Laws that most definitely need to be updated to handle the massive influx of immigrants that we have been seeing on an ongoing basis. People are quick to judge and say, well, we need to deport these people. I could understand deporting those that are just now getting here, that or those that are crossing in illegally and have not had a chance to plead asylum. But you have people that are using the asylum process simply because the other immigration process that we have is not functioning. You don't want to fix that problem, that system. You don't want to acknowledge that there's a problem there. And you don't want to do whatever steps are necessary to remove the pressure on the existing asylum system and try to rectify the situation. Texas is in a situation right now where they're fighting against the federal government. Something that we had no reason to go to that extreme. And this is because of the negligence of congressmen and senators who are not willing to address the situation at hand. I blame my senators, Ted Cruz, JohnCornyn. I blame my U.S. representatives, Chip Roy, Troy Nehls, to name a few, Ronnie Jackson, conservative representatives from my state of Texas, who should have known better and should have done something to prevent what's happening in Eagle Pass. The blame is on you guys. Now is the time to act. You need to get up off your butts and pass the legislation necessary to finally correct all of the situation going on, not just the border. It's sad to say that if you don't do anything, you may not have a state of Texas to come back home to. And I'm not talking about you getting voted out of office. I am seriously talking about what's going on right now. You've got the National Guard at the border, DPS. You got supposedly a convoy of 700,000 truckers heading to the border. Your lack of acting, of willing to act, Congress, just may result in an insurrection that'll make January 6th look like a frickin' block party. And it's all because Congress was lazy and they neglected to act. Congress, this is on you. This is on each and every member of the U.S. House. And this is on each and every member of our U.S. Senate. Because you didn't have the balls to do the job that you needed to do. As a Texan, and as an American, I don't think our state should have had to go this far. Hell no. This is something that Congress could have avoided. Congress could have done something 40 years ago and addressed this so that Texas wouldn't be in this position. Now I'm going to turn my attention to Governor Greg Abbott. Governor Abbott, I understand your frustration. I understand what you're having to deal with at the border. But that does not give you the right to basically violate federal law, enforcing a law that you have no jurisdiction over. Hear me out. Texas does not have the right to enforce immigration law. That has been proven, that has been affirmed by the Supreme Court. What you're doing is tantamount to insurrection, to treason. And by doing what you're doing, you're motivating the public into a greater danger than even you or the National Guard or DPS can handle. You heard what I said earlier when I told Congress that we're in a jeopardy, and that if they do not act, they may not, especially our representatives of Texas, may not have a state to come back to. By what you're doing, Governor Abbott, you are motivating the public into what might be the greatest and biggest insurrection in the history of this country. Simply because you want to defend your political agenda. Come on, admit it. Be a man. Because if this was totally about the border, you would have done whatever was necessary to address the situation. You would have tried your darndest to work together with Washington. But you've been putting up a damn fight ever since. You've not been willing to try to work things out. And it's high time that you do that. It's because of you, and it's because of our representatives and senators in Washington that Texas is in the position that it's in. Congress should have done something 40 years ago, and they failed to do it. And I'm having to sit here and watch our state pick a fight with someone they cannot win. Texas is not about picking fights, Governor. We're an honorable state. We're an honorable people. And it doesn't have to come to picking fights with the government to prove a point. If you want to pick a fight, Governor Abbott, pick a fight with Congress. I challenge you. Pick a fight with those who have neglected their responsibility. You keep saying the president is not enforcing immigration law. If you've been following our country's history, Governor, you damn well know what the issue is. And you damn well know who's responsible. Presidential administrations have come and gone, and each have had to deal with immigration. Each have begged and pleaded with Congress, and each have been denied. It's not a question of a presidential administration. It's a question of a legislative body that refuses to do their damn job. As Americans, we need to be pissed off. We need to be very well pissed off. But not at the president and his administration. Not at Governor Abbott and the state of Texas. We need to be pissed off at those elected officials in Congress that we've put there that have not been willing to compromise, that have not been willing to work on a solution to this immigration problem. Those are the ones to blame. And if you choose to blame someone else other than that, then I am sorry to say you are blind to what's going on, to the reality in front of your damn face. Because the fact of the matter is, history will show that the issues with the border have been ongoing for 40 years, past many administrations, conservative, liberal, Democrat, Republican, and nothing has been done to fix immigration. I honestly don't know what to think of it anymore. I just hope that all this works out, and when everything is said and done, there is still a state of Texas. There is still an honorable people. Because right now, given our governments, there sure as hell is no honor amongst thieves. The fact of the matter is, we've all been motivated. We've all been motivated in the wrong way. Some of us have been motivated to believe that maybe, yes, the president is at fault. That the president's administration has failed. Some of us have been motivated too well. COVID-19 was a disaster. The fact of the matter that our nation is divided proves it. I think now our U.S. Congress needs to act. I'm calling on Americans nationwide right now. If you see this video, think about everything that's been said. Do your research. Read your history. Read about the Immigration Act of 1986, the Immigration Act of 1999. Look at the executive orders that Donald Trump signed during his presidency. Orders that doubled the workload for DHS, for USCIS. And yes, they're there. I know. It's crap like that that is setting us back instead of pushing us forward as a nation. It's the negligence of our Congress that has set us back so many years and had not allowed us to move forward. It's the neglect of Congress that has pushed Governor Abbott to transport migrants to cities like Denver, Chicago, and New York. And I encourage these mayors of these cities, you have a complaint. Number one, you should be you should be directing your frustrations at Governor Abbott. But you need to direct your frustrations at Congress for not addressing this issue 40 years ago when they had the chance. These mayors are asking for help from the federal government because they don't know what to do. I would not blame President Biden or the DOJ for putting Abbott in his place. I know it would piss off a lot of Republicans, piss off a lot of maybe Democrats. It may not cost Biden the presidency. But I think the president needs to act. It's sad for me to say this, but I think the president needs to act, and he needs to deal with Greg Abbott now, once and for all. This may involve Abbott being arrested. This may involve federalizing the National Guard. This may involve detaining the National Guard and DPS by federal agents. But whatever needs to be done, it needs to be done now.